Get ready with me while I talk about part 2 of getting canceled or fired from Turning Point, and then being accused of being an underage S worker. Fair warning, we are switching up the makeup routine today. I am so sorry, but I need more of a clean girl look. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair, and I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. If you haven't already, go ahead and watch the other videos in this playlist to understand where we are at, specifically the one about my MAGA influencer ex-boyfriend and me getting fired from Turning Point. So at this point, the year is 2019. I have been moved out to Florida by my weird ass older influencer MAGA boyfriend, and I have just been canceled. Oh, by the way, I dropped out of school. I've just been canceled by Turning Point for being in a photo with white nationalists, and now all of these headlines are insinuating that I am a white nationalist, even though I have never espoused white nationalist beliefs at this point. And yeah, simultaneously, again, as I had mentioned, the individual I was in this photo with was also spreading a vicious rumor that I was an underage ex worker. And now we need to, I have put too much on here. And this is important because not only now am I a professional liability because there are a million headlines insinuating that I am indeed a white nationalist, so I definitely, it would be hard to go back to school or, get a job at Pinterest. But within the MAGA sphere itself, there is now this insinuation that I was an underage S worker. When I was 14 years old, we moved to a little town in Montana of 250 people, okay? And at this point, I am homeschooled for high school because we have to go over this little one-lane bridge to go to the school. It was a nightmare. So I am homeschooled, and my only friend is a Mennonite lumberjack who I am introducing to the joys of Just Dance 4 on the Wii and stealing my mother's vodka, and then replacing it with a little bit of water, but not too much water because then it freezes. Anyways, so needless to say, I am very sheltered, and my only access to the outside world is the internet, primarily Tumblr and Twitter. So I have this secret Twitter account unbeknownst to my mother because she was not letting me on social media. She wouldn't even let me listen to pop music, really. I used to sneak a little radio under my pillow. Love Mama St. Clair, but this was not a great time. Now, this is really hard to explain to people who were not on Twitter during the 2013-2014 days because it was just the Wild West, okay? People were really just posting whatever was going to be the most provocative, and it was the Wild West. People were posting crazy shit on Twitter, and I was one of those people, okay? But simultaneously, I have this insane account with this stupid username where I'm just posting provocative shit, and it really was overblown, but my content is like primarily me trying to be a Tumblr-esque baddie, okay? Simultaneously, I've never admitted this, but I also had a Justin Bieber stan account, okay? I was 14, 15. Now, at the same time that I have this ridiculous account unbeknownst to my mother, I am a teenager in the Snapchat era, okay? So I am meeting boys who I think are my age on the internet, and like many girls my age, I sent boys who I thought were my age inappropriate photos. One or two of these photos end up being leaked on Twitter. My 14, 15-year-old titties are on the internet, and I can't even tell my mother about this because I'm not supposed to have a Twitter account. Okay, so people are threatening to swap me because this is like, Twitter is overrun with gamers. I'm all over the internet at this point. Now, somehow my mother becomes aware of this and she is aghast. She is distraught. She is on the phone with the FBI because it turns out the individual I sent these photos to was not my age. He was actually a 30-year-old man from Canada. And so my mother is on the phone with the FBI, with Canadian authorities, trying to get these photos removed. So this was definitely not great, okay? Needless to say, I was grounded and had my phone taken away. But this was traumatic. I was a victim, and it took me many years to realize that, and it took me a long time to talk about it because it was so embarrassing, and there were things that I said on that account that were just so crazy. But there's also things that I never said. For example, there's a tweet that goes around that I want some big black guy named Tyrone to destroy me. I never posted this, nonetheless, it's attributed to me. So when Nicholas and these white nationalists started attacking me, simultaneously, there was a girl that I used to know back in the 2014 Twitter days who is now actually a one-armed S worker. She lost her arm in a drunk scootering accident. I wish I was making this up. And so Nicholas gets his information about me being an underage S worker from this girl who decides to put out a tweet because she disagrees with my politics. Okay, fair. But she basically says that I sold inappropriate photos to gamers. Literally never happened. But so now this rumor takes on a life of its own, and I am too embarrassed to address it and say, no, yes, I tweeted stupid things. I had this weird account, but I was just trying to be a Tumblr baddie, and I was exploited as a child. Now, why am I telling you all this? Well, because at this point, right, I've dropped out of school. I moved across the country by my grandpa ass boyfriend who is 10 years my senior, who I end up leaving, and now I am a professional and personal liability because the entire internet thinks I'm either a white nationalist or that I was an underage worker who was fetishizing black men. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that these photos and this account would later be brought up by Jared Burchell, the money manager of Elon Musk, to insinuate that I was some underage S worker, even though I was a victim. What? He was using it to intimidate me into signing something that I didn't want to sign. Okay, needless to say, nobody was really reaching out for job offers. So I end up selling Donald Trump t-shirts and Bill Clinton joke meme t-shirts, okay? Needless to say, at this point, I had absolutely no way out of MAGA. I needed to lean in and lean in hard, and that I did, okay? I sold these t-shirts like my life. All day making content. I would see if any of these big corporations had woke commercials. It was awful. Simultaneously, even though the headlines say that I'm like canceled from Turning Point, I'm still going to their events. Everyone, including Charlie, is still reaching out to me. I'm not persona non grata unless you Google me, okay? So when 2020 rolls around and I get an offer to work as director of operations at Benny Johnson's new money laundering company, I am ecstatic, okay? I finally can have a career. Needless to say, I am absolutely stoked about this. You know, I am basically like, oh, all my haters who thought I was dead, well, look at me now. I'm doing a video shoot with Donald Trump Jr. at Trump Tower. And again, I am the lead on many shoots and projects with very high-profile MAGA figures. I am basically running around with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, running her entire book launch. We're doing video shoots with Candace Owens, with Charlie, with all of these people, and I don't know. I like so needed validation and was so scared of never working again because I've blown my life up at only like 20, 21 that I'm like, fuck yeah, now we made it. So despite Benny Johnson being an abusive psychopath while I worked for him, I felt some weird loyalty to him because he like gave me a chance when no one else would. Simultaneously, I feel like I'm on top of the world because I have access to these like high profile conservatives. I am getting invited to all the parties, all the events, yada yada who. As I am being brought back into the fold and my profile is growing and my access is growing, I am becoming aware of exactly how these influence operations work. I am getting offers for things that I am wildly uncomfortable with, seeing things I'm uncomfortable with. But simultaneously, I am terrified to speak out because I have just, regained my footing. I have absolutely zero career opportunities outside of MAGA and Republican politics, and even that's limited because of my SEO. And then a year later, I get pregnant with my first child.